It is a new astrological year, and we begin with Shem Angel 1, Vehuiah. Vehuiah. So we've completed a cycle of 72 Shem angels, and now we arrive back at angel number 1, Vehuiah. This angel, according to La Science Kabbalistique, this angel, Vehuiah, Shem Angel 1, is associated with knowledge, but there's also a clear fiery and martial aspect, which seems to coincide with the beginning of the astrological year with Aries. Think of it as giving the fiery energy to push through the whole year, that fiery kickstart. Think of it as the spark that starts the fire. Getting the fire started for the year, okay? This movement, we should have some type of direction, some type of goal. Think of Aries like a military leader in the sense of direction, the head, the leader, okay? Movement, direction, initiative, boldness, courage. These attributes of the warrior of courage and knowing what you want in life and going out there and getting it. Going out there to conquer and to manifest. That warrior spirit, which is Mars, which is Aries. Okay, this sign of Aries refers to the Greek god, which the Romans had Mars, the god of war, Ares. And Aries, the ram. Now, it's pretty interesting. I try not to veer off too much over here, but basically we're talking about different things here. First of all, the sun has entered the sign of Aries, according to the tropical zodiac. And this is kind of a good time to talk about this also, because there are different ways of looking at the zodiac. There is the tropical zodiac, which I use in my videos, and there are people that use other systems. There are people that use the Vedic system, the sidereal, many different systems. I personally use the tropical because it's what's always been used in the West. It is a different tradition, and it's always worked throughout the grimoire tradition, throughout Agrippa. It's just always worked here in the West. And the thing is, the zodiac in the tropical system does not correspond to constellations. The sun enters Aries when we reach the equinox. The March equinox, the sun enters Aries. The sun enters into Cancer when the sun enters into the June solstice. And the northern hemisphere, that would be the summer solstice. And the summer hemisphere, that would be the winter solstice. The sun enters the scales of Libra, which is balance, day and night, the scales in the harvest, in September. And that's the beginning of fall in the northern hemisphere, and actually spring in the southern hemisphere. And then the sun enters the sign of Capricorn at the winter solstice. Okay, in December. So the signs of the zodiac, there are different views on what this means. And I try to always have an open mind, and I try to respect all opinions. There are some people, sidereal astrology has become more and more popular today. In fact, there are many people nowadays that suddenly feel like it's the only true way. It's the only true way, suddenly. I think that's kind of strange, because Tropical's been working in the West for about 2,000 years now. You know, it's been working great. But some people feel like we need to update it. But anyways, so in the tropical, this is an example. People will say that tropical astrology is seasonal. It's based on the seasons. It's not based on the position of constellations. It's based on the seasons. The sun enters Aries near the March equinox and enters Cancer near the June solstice. It enters the scales are Libra in the September equinox. It enters Capricorn at the December solstice. So, anyways, the sun in the tropical astrology has entered into Aries. It's the here in the northern hemisphere, it's the spring equinox. In the southern hemisphere, it's the autumnal equinox. So, happy equinox, everybody. The word equinox means equal night. Equa and nox. Nox means night. So equinox means equal night. So day and night is equal around this time of year. And actually, the sunlight is distributed evenly with the northern and southern hemispheres of the earth. So it's actually a pretty interesting astronomical event or phenomenon. So basically, the earth tilts on its axis. Let's say you live in the northern hemisphere like I do. We're in the north. Let's say this is the sun. My fist is the sun, and this is the earth that's tilted on its axis, okay? In the summer in the north, we're tilted towards the sun. So it's extra hot, and the days are extra long. Okay, and then the earth starts tilting back. This is fall or autumn. Day and night is equal. And then the north up here where my fingers are tilts back in the winter. It's cold. The nights are really long and it's colder because the earth is tilted, the northern part of the earth is tilted away from the sun. And that's what here in the northern hemisphere we experience is the cold winter months. And then the days start getting longer. We're getting closer to the sun. It's warming up a little until the March equinox here in the northern hemisphere. This is this equinox we just had a couple days ago, March 20th, March 19th this year. Day and night is equal. The northern and southern hemispheres of the earth are getting equal amounts of light. And now here in the northern hemisphere, now the days are going to start getting longer and it's starting to get warmer as we go towards summer, wherein the north is tilted towards the sun. And again, this whole cycle, this wobble of the earth is what produces the seasons. And it's pretty interesting because many cultures around the earth since the dawn of civilization have been working with solstices and equinoxes, Having a agricultural lifestyle, for example, it's very important to know the time of planting and harvest. And it's pretty interesting. So the sun has entered into Aries. Now, where does the ram come from? I was looking into this. The ancient Babylonians associated the ram with this constellation and also the agrarian worker. And the Egyptians had associated Aries with Amun-Ra, which was a ram-headed deity, Amun-Ra. So that's like ancient Egyptian, like, oh, this is the sign of the ram. So that's pretty interesting. But I try to be very careful when I put information out there because I did not look at like all the sources, and I try to make sure that I look at sources before I quote things, because what if that's not, I did not really go into a lot of the source material for that. I need to dig a little deeper. So that's a full disclosure. But if true, then that's actually pretty interesting that the Egyptians would have their ram-headed deity honored under the ram. So that's pretty interesting. Whatever the case may be, the Greeks associated Aries, the ram, with the golden fleece that were taken by the Argonauts. You have the myth of the golden fleece, which it's interesting because the golden fleece was also an alchemical allegory. So the golden fleece and Aries and in a lot of modern esoteric systems, you could say that the ram is associated with the lambskin apron. It's associated with the East and the lambskin apron, which goes from darkness into the light, basically into the ram. When light overcomes the darkness, or the light dawns in the darkness. Okay. And so yeah, basically this is that If you think about in the ancient Roman and Greek calendar, Aries, this was the beginning, this equinox was the beginning of the year for the Romans and Greeks, and also for the Persians. It's pretty interesting for the Persians, for the ancient Persians also, and March was the opening of the new year. The March equinox was the opening of the new year. So that's pretty interesting, that type of thing. Nowruz, okay, the Zoroastrian festival of Nowruz specifically falls around the time of the March equinox, Nowruz. And so anyways, equinoxes and solstices have been practiced by many different cultures around the world since like the dawn of like thinking about spiritual things. So it's pretty cool. Now, in my videos, I try to not tell people what to think, you know. I try to not tell people what to think. I try to let people come to their own conclusion about things. I talk a lot about the Shem angels. And the Shem angels, I try to both be like historical with the historical lore, but I try not to be dogmatic. What are the Shem angels? Each person has to come to their own conclusion. Many people have worked with these angels and had a lot of miraculous things seem to happen in their lives, okay? And I've experienced it. Now, what are these beings? Are these real beings that objectively exist outside of us? What do you think? I've already given my opinion quite a bunch of times here. I'm a believer for the most part, but I don't want to be dogmatic. I want everyone to come to their own conclusions. Do the angels exist objectively outside of us? Or there are people that also interpret them as being within the mind, parts of the psyche that unlock in the subconscious, and that through placebo or through belief, we're able to have powerful experiential changes within ourselves and also seem to have powerful transformation in our lives by working with these parts of our own psyche. Now, me personally, I don't come from the school of thought. Many people do, and I respect it. This is the psychological model. You know, modern esotericism is pretty interesting because you'll have two people side by side do the same thing, and their interpretations are totally opposite. You'll have a traditional magician that sees these things as objective and real and not external, doing a ritual. And you'll have someone next to them that sees it all as in their head, and that doesn't even bother them that it's in their head. It's like hypnosis, self-hypnosis. They see no problem. Maybe with some actual spiritual stuff too. Maybe they're open. And there are people that are in between the two schools of thought. Now, me personally, I try to steer clear of always talking about my opinions because I want everyone to draw their own conclusions. I tend to see things as objectively spiritually real, but also see it reflected within us. And I think it's both. And I don't see any problem with that. But anyways, in my videos, what are the Shem angels? The Shem angels are Kabbalistic angels. They are tied to the Torah from Exodus chapter 14, verses 19 through 21. Interestingly, we don't see anything about these angels in church or in the synagogue, really, hardly. It's like mostly where these angels, where it has El or Yah attached to the name. These Shem angels are associated specifically with magic, grimoire magic. And so yeah, these angels have been worked with by magicians for centuries and produced very interesting results. I've found many things to be miraculous with these angels, and I've undergone like very profound. It's interesting. I am fascinated by experience, human experience. And while I am alive and in the flesh, while I am alive in this lifetime, I want to have human experience. I want to do things in life such as swim and eat and run and whatever, okay? I want to experience life. However, also experiencing spirituality and meditation and rituals and through all kinds of things that I've done throughout my life. I've been able to for me it's a journey in human experience. Yeah, that's how I look at it. So I've practiced different types of magic since I was about 12 years old. Since I was, a preteen. I've been doing magic and spells and practicing different things and experimenting with this and tinkering with that and spiritual world and meditation and chanting mantras and undergoing lodge initiations and, virtually anything you could think. I've been trying it all. Anyways, I'm kind of ranting here, but, where was I leading with this? I like to I like to experience, the spiritual world. But anyways, it's interesting. I've been doing magic all my life. I get to the Shem angels and my life suddenly starts really changing. But there's more than just the Shem angels that's going on. I'll talk about that in my Patreon videos. So in my Patreon videos, those are just for people that subscribe to my Patreon. It helps support my content. It's $10 a month. If someone supports my Patreon, it's $10 a month and you get all the extra videos. But I talk about a lot of stuff in my Patreon that I don't talk about anywhere else. And the thing is, yeah. Anyway, so Vehuiah, we've went through all 72 of the Shem angels. Now we get to Angel 1. So Mumia was the last Shem angel. We worked with Mumia, and that was all about endings. The end through Pisces, Now we get to Vehuiah. The sun has entered into Aries, and we enter a new astrological year. Okay, the sun has entered into Aries, and now we have that fire of Mars, that fiery energy to carry us forward. That torch is lit. We are ready to work towards our goals. That drive, that energy, that fire of the ram. Okay, we're taking that Aries energy, that martial energy to try to manifest, to try to bring our goals to fruition. Okay, we are the warrior. We are out on, not to overly sound new agey or psychologize or anything, but we are out on the hero's journey, more or less. Okay, we're out to set out on our 12 labors of Hercules, to take that kind of approach. We are out. What are we going to create this year? People often talk about New Year's resolutions and, that's a whole other topic, but I tend to take holidays very seriously as much more than just recreation. I think holidays are often cyclical and deeply spiritual, and I take these ideas of starting off the year and plans for the year as serious. To me, I see the whole rest of the world around me. They make and break New Year's. I don't do that. Every year I come up with a resolution and I work very hard throughout. It's like my goal. What is my goal for the year, And this is something that you see like in a lot of neo-paganism is symbolically working with the Sabbats. They call them Sabbats in a lot of neo-paganism, like working with Ostara or the summer solstice or Mabon, the different seasonal holidays. They plant in the spring, Think of what you want to achieve this year. In the winter, it's the birth of light. What do I want to achieve this year? It's a good time for goal setting. And in the spring, it's the planting of the seed. Really, a lot of people in a seasonal rite, I think it's interesting, Yes, I'm talking about angels and then I'm talking about paganism. I know that'll upset some people, but I like to broadly touch all these traditions, okay? But in the springtime rites, they'll often take a seed, a literal seed of some kind, hold it in their hand, and think of what do you want to manifest this year? I always thought it was a powerful ritual. Take a seed, put it in your hand, and as part of a ritual, have a potted, ready for potted soil to pot, hold the seed, visualize your goal for the year, really think of, and then plant the seed, cover it with soil, pour water over it, and grow the plant. It's just a cool thing, it's a seasonal rite. So, hi, how are you doing there, Gerardo? Welcome, but thank you for watching and welcome to my live. Happy Equinox, by the way. I almost said solstice. Happy Equinox to you, and I hope that you're having a wonderful day there, Gerardo. But anyways, I was talking about bringing the fire in for the year. What are we trying to manifest this year? And the idea of working towards that goal, something you're trying to achieve in your life or work towards throughout the summer. That's the height of the activity. Think of the sun as symbolic of activity and fire and energy. You're working towards that goal through the summer. And then think of the harvest. The harvest time in September, that's when a lot of time, well, in the northern hemisphere, it'd be September. The harvest time, think of that as a time of Thanksgiving. You look back on your year and everything that you achieved. I don't drink anymore. It's a waste of time. When I was younger, I was kind of a party animal, like in my 20s, and now I'm very, just kind of cleaned up and just trying to, meditate and just be spiritual. But when I was younger, I was a bit of a party animal. But oh yeah, I used to celebrate this, September. I don't drink anymore, but it used to be like September's Festival of the Wine. I'd drink wine and party and celebrate everything that I achieved that year. Like I said, I don't really care for drinking anymore, but I used to drink and party. This is everything I did the year. It was a cool celebration, And then around Samhain or Day of the Dead, I took that as my Celtic ancestors, it was like death. Really meditate on death. Go visit the graves of your dead ones and your loved ones that have passed on. Think of your own mortality. Really take it. It's not about scary movies and stuff. No. I mean, it can be. There's nothing wrong with taking just a light view of holidays. But for those that want to look deeper and see how this Day of the Dead is found in many cultures around the world. And then in the winter solstice, this idea of light born in the darkness, whether you take a Christian view or you take another type of view, the light dawn in the darkness. And then in the springtime, everything flowers, okay? So anyways, we don't live in an agricultural society anymore. But my point is, even if we're not literally planting to survive, we're not living on farms, planting in the spring, reaping in the autumn, we could still symbolically do this and connect with the seasons in a symbolic, deep, spiritual, connected way. We are connecting with the cosmos. Through celebrating seasonal rites, we are connecting with humanity. Because human beings have been doing this for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And we are showing that we have a continuity with the past. Yes, we live in this short little lifespan now in this time period, but we are a continuity with the past. Okay? We are here. We are the descendants of our ancestors. But anyways, long story short, the sun in the tropical zodiac that follows the seasons, the sun has entered into Aries. This brings us to Shem Angel 1, Vehuiah. Vehuiah, what is his office? Vehuiah is martial in the sense of energy and energy. Think of it as energy for the year. Fiery and martial. Let me actually read what the text says. Actually, give me 1 second. I'll be right back, y'all. I'm actually going to get the book. Okay, I'll be right back. And I actually took a couple of days off, you know. I feel kind of bad because I told everyone, yeah, we do videos, 5 days to, all these videos, and then I kind of slack. But to be fair, not to pat my own self on the back or anything, but to be fair, I did do an hour, 2 hours of video daily. How many hours of stuff did I do? However, I need to be true to my word. I say, but this last week I kind of took it chill, and the Equinox, but I did say I'm going to take the Equinox, those 2 days off, Well, the 19th, which was the Equinox proper, and then the 20th. So we're back on it. My batteries are recharged, getting back on these videos, but Vehuiah. Now, this guy's a little wonky, in my honest opinion, okay? A little bit wonky. Some of his stuff's a little wonky. Not the translation's excellent, Pierce Vaughn. But the Science of Kabbalah, this was written in 1823. I just want people to keep in mind that this is not the gospel, okay? Just because Lazar Lenain wrote something in 1823 does not make it fact for the Shem angels, okay? So people need to keep this in mind. But Lazar Lenain does some interesting things. Now, his office is valuable. Here's the thing about the Shem angels. There's very little material. Very little material. We have old Jewish Kabbalistic writings on the 72-fold name of God, the Shem HaMephoresh, drawn from Exodus. I'm not very familiar with this material, to be honest, but it's not directly related to, it's not the angels themselves. The Shem angels, the 72 Shem angels themselves, appear in Johann Reuchlin's 1517 De Arte Kabbalistica. It's actually interesting because this was like a Christian Kabbalistic text. It was one of the first of its kind. One of the first. De Arte Kabbalistica. And I have a very good Jewish friend that he got a little irritated at one of my posts, but he's a very good friend of mine. This gentleman, I have a lot of respect for this guy. He's a magician, and we're good friends still. But he got irritated that I brought up this book, because it does portray itself as Jewish Kabbalah, but it's really a little bit of a Christianizing text, because it mentions Yeshua as the pentagram. It's a whole thing. Anyways, but it mentions the Shem angels. So it's interesting that this text actually breaks from Jewish tradition, but yet it's Kabbalistic with the Sephirot and all that. It mentions the 72 Shem angels. De Arte Kabbalistica by Johann Reuchlin. Interestingly, it was actually written by a Christian. Anyways. Next up, Agrippa. Cornelius Agrippa writes about the 72 Shem angels in his 3 books of occult philosophy. Clearly, these are angels drawn from the book of Exodus, and they are tied to Jewish tradition. However, the earliest record we have of the angels themselves seems to come from more occult sources, okay? And then we have Dr. Rudd, and then we have Lenain, and we really don't have a lot of material. Kircher gives us divine attributes of each angel. This is in the 1600s. This is in 1654. Athanasius Kircher, in his Oedipus Aegyptiacus, he gives us psalm verses and divine attributes of each angel. So by looking at the name, and Agrippa also says that these are assigned to 5 degrees each of the zodiac. That's in Agrippa. Agrippa says that they're assigned to the 72 quinaries of 5 degrees each of the zodiac. So beginning Vehuiah at 0 degrees Aries, and then ending at Mumia at 25 to 30 degrees Pisces is how this is usually interpreted, and just makes sense. Now, and that's how we do it here. Moving into a totally different, well, the same topic, but moving into a different topic, there are some modern magicians that begin the Shem angels in Regulus in the heart of Leo, but that's a whole other topic. Okay, so what do we have after this? So, Athanasius Kircher gives us the Psalm verse and the divine attribute. So, in the 1600s, we knew we had the name of the angel. We could project it on the zodiac and look at, well, what are the degrees of the zodiac? Like Vehuiah is 0 to 5 degrees Aries. Clearly, we can think of, well, that's a martial, whatever. The name, the divine attribute, for example, Deus Exaltator, exalted God. And then the Psalm verse. These would give these things all together, contemplating the Psalm verse and the attribute and the name and the zodiac point. We're able to get an idea of the angel. However, what he does for us, Lazar Linnaean gives us complete offices of each angel. So, long story short, this book was written very late in 1823. To me, that's very late. That's the 19th century. 1823, Lazar Linnaean wrote this book. The offices are excellent. Now, even though he probably did use some creative license, if we're going to be like all scholarly here, in practical occult working, I found his divine offices to work phenomenally. And many people, they use Lazar Linnaean's office of each angel. So the office tells what each angel does. So the long story short, and he also has a pretty cool 20-minute cycle. He totally fabricates this. He just totally invents it. He makes it up, okay? But Lazar Linnaean is interesting. My point is, just because he said something doesn't make it gospel. That all said, I highly recommend this book. The Science of Kabbalah by Pierce. It's translated into English by Pierce Vaughan. I'll give a link once I finish processing this. But the Science of Kabbalah. But anyways, let's read what he says about Vehuiah. Okay, let's take a look at Vehuiah. Alright, so Vehuiah, like, he talks about each person having 3 guardian angels and tries to tie it to Agrippa. He uses a lot of license, a lot of creativity, and that's fine. And if people want to work with Lazar Linnaean's methods, that's totally fine. However, my only point is just because he says something doesn't make it true for the whole tradition. If somebody wrote a book in 1823, he cannot then represent the whole tradition of the Shem angels, okay? That's all I'm saying. He's interesting, but just take him with a grain of salt. But let's see what he says about Vehuiah. Vehuiah. Alright. It says his attribute is interpreted as God elevated and exalted above all things. Now, pause. Where's he getting this from? Athanasius Kircher's Oedipus Egyptiacus. Deus Exaltator. Okay. I'm just pointing out that is his source. We're looking at his source material. Okay, continuing. He rules over the Hebrews. The name of God in that language is Jehovah. Okay, so the 72 nations. This is just a bunch of things. Let's go on to the office. Okay. The Psalm verse agrees with Kircher. So all the sources seem to agree on the Psalm verse. So each of the 72 Shem angels is associated with a Psalm verse, except for one. Okay, what is it? Yabamya? That one is associated with Genesis, verse 1. Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. But every other Shem angel has a Psalm verse. It's tied to the angel's call. All sources agree that it's Psalm 3, verse 3. O Lord, but thou, O Lord, art a shield for me, my glory, and the lifter up of my head. Pretty cool. What is the office? It says here, And that agrees with the classical sources and Kircher, so cool. And then it says here the office. The person born under the influence of this genius has a skillful nature. They are blessed with great wisdom, a lover of the arts and sciences, capable of undertaking and executing the most difficult things, having a love for military service due to the influence of Mars, having abundant energy due to the dominance of fire. Okay, so clearly what do we have here? It's a little weird how it's written. And then the bad genius that this is not found anywhere in the older sources. I don't have any problem with the bad genius thing, and people would encourage that. But it's just, I don't see any sources for this. Other than, he just kind of like makes this up, okay? I'm just one of those people, I try to stick to the older sources, but I like his office, okay? But just take this guy with a grain of salt, okay? He doesn't speak for the whole tradition of the Shem angels, okay? There are various traditions, but still, no. He's one guy that wrote a book in 1823. But anyways, it's kind of weird though the way he wrote it. Because he just talks about the person born under his influence. Normally, it gives an office, and then it says, and the person born under the influence. Here he just says a person born under his influence. What I gathered from this is that this angel is associated with learning, arts and sciences. Okay, let's read this again. Think of this, because he just talks about someone born under his influence, but this is his office, so it's weirdly written. But let's go to this. Okay. The person born under the influence of this genius has a skillful nature. They're blessed with great wisdom, a lover of the arts and sciences. So clearly this is an angel associated with learning. Well, with the arts and sciences. Capable of undertaking and executing the most difficult things. So think of this angel, Vehuiah, as starting the year, the fire of Aries, to carry that fire through the year, capable of undertaking the most difficult things. This is going to carry you through your goals and like realizing that's how I take this. So, what does this angel do? He's associated with knowledge and wisdom and sciences and learning. And capable of undertaking and executing the most difficult things. So this angel, for me, it can also help to carry you to achieve your goals for the year. This is an excellent angel, in my opinion, to ask to help you to achieve your goals for this year, to light that fire within you, to give you that spark of energy to get you going for the year, your push start, so to speak. Think of it as a push start, okay? Having a love for military service due to the influence of Mars. So you see a martial aspect there. Having abundant energy due to the dominance of fire. That's that Mars energy, that fiery energy. And once again, I try to have a very neutral view. I try not to judge any one perspective. I try to just talk about all perspectives. But if we are looking at Lazar Linane and his Science of Kabbalah, I'll give a link. Like I say, I just take him with a grain of salt, but I encourage people read him. He's very important. He's where I get the offices, okay? I'll give a link once I process this video. I'll have all that stuff. But take him with a grain of salt, but very important. Having said that, the offices I take from there, the office of each angel. But he gets a little wonky. But so what I take from this is Vehuiah is angel 1. He starts off the year. This is like the Aries energy. This is the fiery energy. This is like kindling the fire within us. What are we going to achieve this year? What are you going to achieve this year? What do you want to harvest in your life? What seed are you going to plant to harvest in your life? So that's where I would leave with that. In addition, the angel is associated with sciences and learning and martial things and all of that. So yeah, And then also I wanted to say, I've been experimenting a lot with my videos, and I've tried different things. I tried like reading and talking, and I seem to like that. And I've thought about that for many years, but I think I need to do it as its own thing. What I'd been doing is do a reading, do a talk about something like the Shem angel of the time, and then a reading. But that throws people off because they're trying to hear about the angels. Suddenly they're hearing about a time period. They may be watching this a year later. It no longer corresponds to the time. And then the reading. So what I think I need to do is do it as its own thing, But I'm going to be doing some Agrippa readings. So I'm going to be starting with chapter 1, or I think I did no, I'm going to start with chapter 1 of Agrippa, the 3 books of occult philosophy. And this is a perfect time because this is in the northern hemisphere, it's the spring equinox. It's the equinox. It's the perfect time to start cracking open the 3 books of occult philosophy. There are many people that have never read Agrippa. They're probably never going to read Agrippa, honestly, because many people consider him dry and boring, whatever. A lot of people are just not going to crack him open. But I'll help those people out because they can hear it. And there are many people that have read Agrippa a million times and are veterans with Agrippa, but they may just like to hear somebody read it out loud and they can just listen, okay? So I'm going to do that as its own thing. I'll be doing Agrippa readings and my own commentary and listening on these lives. I may have, you the viewer may have some input on the chapter that you want to share. And if you would like, I can read that input, okay? So let's say I'm reading a chapter on Agrippa, and I'll give my own input because it's my show. But people watching live, you may say, hey, Taliesin, what about this? You may write out your own thing to add, your own input on the chapter, and I'll add that to the video. I'll read your comments on the video. So we can all learn together, and we can work through the 3 books of occult philosophy. Let's do this, y'all. What do you think? It's springtime, unless you're in the southern hemisphere. Sorry, it's the autumn, but whatever. It's the equinox, y'all. Let's start reading through the 3 books of occult philosophy. But like I said, it's going to be its own thing. But I'm going to start that off. Yeah, anybody wants to hear Agrippa in a southern accent? So happy equinox, everybody. This is Vehuiah. And I also wanted to announce that, we're going to be working through the 3 books of occult philosophy. And so that's going on. Gerardo said, let's do it, bud. Heck yeah. So I took a couple days off for my magical or occult religious, whatever holidays. I took a couple days off for the equinox. And now we're going to go at this strong. So that's kind of a short video. How long have I been going? What's it been, like an hour? Has it been an hour? Yeah, it's been just almost an hour. I think it's been like 50 minutes, 45, 50 minutes. For me, that's a short video. I usually do videos for an hour, 2 hours. But I think I'm going to call it a night. So more stuff is coming out. I hope everyone had a wonderful equinox. More stuff to come. And I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Thank you for stopping by. And Lyriel's my girlfriend. So of course she's here helping me out in the comments. Gerardo, thank you for stopping by. And thank you everyone else that's watching and going to comment. There's a lot of stuff coming out. And then of course we're going to continue the geomancy. And yep. So, more stuff to come, and what do y'all think about some tarot? We might work through some tarot as well. We'll see how it goes. That's more modern, though. We tend to stick with the classical. Anyways, it's a new year, y'all. We need to keep going. So, I can't do the same stuff I talked about last year, That's kind of where my mind's going with this. I'm literally thinking in terms of, new year, now it's a new cycle. I'm going to continue working through the Shem angels, but what else? Through Agrippa is a good idea. We're going to go through this, y'all, and I'm open to hear input. I hope everyone's having a wonderful equinox, whether you, like me, you live in the northern hemisphere, this is springtime, or whether you live in the southern hemisphere, and this is autumn. I hope everyone's having a wonderful equinox, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Have a great day, y'all. Bye, y'all.